Hey, this is Bruce Boudreau, and you're listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mack, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 164 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
Not too much, dude. Just enjoying some lovely weather here in the DMV. Got a chance to check out Orioles opening day. Had a ton of fun. Let's go Ews on Saturday. That was a blast. So loving life right now. How about yourself?
Can't complain, kind of fighting off some of the seasonal allergies you might be able to hear in my voice. But enjoying the good weather here in the DMV. Spring finally feels like it's upon us. Spent the whole weekend watching the Masters. Had a great Easter, so I can't complain.
Nice.
I'm now going to toss it up to Wisco for our other co-host, Mac Vogel. What's going on, buddy?
Not much. I've also got the spring allergies bugging me right now, so you might hear that in my voice as well. But other than that, can't complain too much. I had myself a nice Easter with my homies. We went to the Brewer game, me and two of my buddies, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day in Wisconsin yesterday. It was like 75 degrees and not too breezy or anything. So they had the dome open for once at Miller Park, which is a real treat. It seems like they always close that at just like the slightest implication of potential weather. Because I understand it's a bitch to open and close, so they kind of have to make that decision based on like any potential weather, which annoying, but I guess I get it. But yeah, no, it's good. It's supposed to be nice here all week, and hopefully we're done with snow. I really hope so.
Yeah, we are right on the brink of some playoff hockey. This is actually the last episode of the regular season for Empty Betters. So another season in the books. Got the postseason coming at you next week for our next episode. Before we get rolling here, just want to say a big thank you to our interview guest today. We had Ken from SinBin Vegas, a great website and Twitter page for all things Vegas Golden Knights related. He joined the show just now. We actually just wrapped up the interview, so a big thank you to him. As the playoffs are rolling in here, we want to get some people on who know their teams really well, super fans, bloggers, writers, reporters, players, whoever. So we got Vegas covered in this one with Ken. That will be in the middle of the episode. And we will move on to the news segment. But before we do, I think Mac has a question of the day.
I sure do. I just now received one from the higher ups. So
from the brass. Yeah.
Yes. So those of you who have known me for a long time, you may remember that when I was I want to say sophomore in college, I had a radio show on Marquette Radio where me and one of my friends just came up with outlandish would you rather questions. And we would have callers call in, some of our friends, and we would debate for a while. So I'm going to give you a would you rather question for this one, a very interesting one that I thought of quite a long time ago. Now, if you've heard some of our recent questions of the days and you've said to yourself, wow, how the hell did they think of that? That's crazy. These guys are stupid. Maybe is something you've said to yourself. You're not going to like this one because
Oh boy,
it potentially is the most absurd one yet. But I think it's a valid question, and so here goes. Would you rather every night that you come home, before you can go to bed, you have to spread peanut butter all over like your hallway, like just like the general hall outside of your room, covered in peanut butter, and then you have to clean it all up. So you have to do that every night before you go to bed. Now, I know there's probably a lot of questions already. The number one, I'm just going to answer it right now so you don't have to think about it. You don't have to pay for the peanut butter. It's just you have an unlimited supply. That's not a problem. Okay.
We were sponsored. They gave us the peanut butter.
Yes.
Okay.
You're sponsored,
Fair
but
package.
it's the inconvenience factor, right? So you're going to have to build this into your schedule every day, or you're going to have to go to bed way later. It's up to you to figure that out, Or the second option is every morning when you wake up, before you can go to work, you have to go outside, lock the door with your keys inside, and then you have to call a local locksmith to come and get your door open so you can get your keys and then go to work. And another popular question that I've gotten for this one, you're not allowed to just like prearrange something with the same locksmith where it's like, hey, I'm going to do this every day, so please be ready for me. Whether or not you're using the same one or not, just we're operating under this understanding that it is going to take this locksmith the normal locksmith amount of time to come and get you out of this pickle.
So anywhere between an hour and 6 hours.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I have some follow-up questions. The first is like, am I allowed to use whatever I want to spread said peanut butter? Are we talking like everyone is using the same ass like plastic, knife to do this?
I mean, you can use whatever you can fit in the jar, but it's a normal size.
But it has to fit in the jar?
I mean, well, I suppose you could remove all of the peanut butter with like a ice cream scooper, and then like
I was going to put it in like a paint rolling palette and then just take like a spackle thing and just start spackling my wall.
That is kind of genius.
Yeah. Sign me up for peanut butter, boys. I'm not dealing with
just
locksmith.
one jar?
No.
It's got to cover the walls.
You have to cover. No. It's not the walls. It's not the walls. You have to cover the hall, like all of
the floor.
The floor in your home that is not rooms. So like anything that is not a bedroom, basically. So like has to be covered. Yeah.
Like kitchen too and shit.
Yeah, like kitchen floor and like just the general open area. You don't have to go in rooms, but just like
I'm still going peanut butter.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'd go locksmith.
I would lose my mind because, and this is going to sound psycho, so this is a little bit of a insight into the mind of Nick Manella, but I would lose my mind if I was just sitting outside of my house waiting somewhere between 1 and 6 hours. At least with the peanut butter, I'm accomplishing some kind of task.
The other factors that I believe we debated when I first thought of this question, which don't even ask how I thought of it, but some people were concerned that the wear and tear that would happen to your body from spreading peanut butter on the ground like every night of your life. And cleaning it up. You have to clean it all up after too. Like I guess you could get a power washer, but you've probably got like hardwood floors. I'm not sure how that's gonna go.
You're gonna have ants and mice everywhere.
That's a concern as well.
I feel like the ramifications, mental health aside, would be worse cleaning and damaging your house on purpose every night before bed than just waking up and being inconvenienced by like normal shit. I guess.
The locksmith thing, like being in the morning, that would piss me off a lot more. Like I am not a morning person anymore. Like that I would be very agitated by that.
So
Mac, what's your answer?
I've debated it for years. I really don't know. I think I would probably do the peanut butter, but it's not an easy question. I don't have a go-to answer for it. I go back and forth a lot.
It's not a very good quality of life either way.
No, it's not.
But
I do think there's a world where you get pretty good at doing the peanut butter situation.
Yeah.
And it starts to like take up less and less of your time. And like, again, I mean, you could probably like listen to a podcast like the one you're listening to right now while you're doing it or something.
And this isn't something where I could like lay down a bunch of saran wrap before and then just yank it up, right?
No, it's got to be like on the actual floor, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
So,
could I just like get like 6 corgis to come over and like lick the peanut butter up?
The dog has been brought up in the past when I've asked people this question as well.
Heard to clean your
now I'm thinking would just end up with a bunch of corgis covered in peanut butter, like
you might end up with more of a problem with that. You're allowed to have like, if you have a dog or 2 dogs, they can do what they're gonna do. If they're interested in the peanut butter, they can help, but I don't really think that's gonna go that far, honestly.
Can I like install like a shower drain in my floor and just like power hose this thing clean or no?
Are you renting your place or owning it?
I'm assuming I'm owning it. I'd like to think I'd be owning it at that point.
Well, I mean, what is at this point? When is this occurring?
Let's just say I own it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I suppose you can do whatever you want if you own a place.
Yeah.
I'm doing locksmith.
Cool.
Okay.
I'd have to build a network. Like,
Net
because you
worth.
can't use the same guy every time you said. So
Well,
I'd have to like,
it's not that you can't use the same guy more than once, but it's that using the same guy in this situation for whatever reason, it doesn't help at all. It
could I
just
build a rotation? Like a Monday guy, a Tuesday guy?
sure, but they can't know anything about, for some reason, they all have like
Can't know in
amnesia and they have
advance.
no
Okay.
idea that you're going to be doing, no matter how many times the same locksmith comes, he never gets it in his head that's like, same time tomorrow, I'll be here. Like it's just never that easy.
That really would suck, but I think I'd probably choose that over the peanut butter.
But Nick's right. Like some days it happens in like 30 minutes. He's like in the area and he's like, oh, I can swing by and get that real quick.
But the peanut butter always takes
The same amount of
Wow.
time until you
I'd
maybe
like
get
to
better
think
at it.
I
and it
would
gets a
get
little
good at
easier.
that,
I
but
Yeah.
who knows?
I've lost some brain cells here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. That was a good question though.
Mr. Madison, what you just said
Yeah,
has
literally.
made
Yeah.
every single person in this room a little bit stupider. I award you
Oh,
no
man.
points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah.
Well done, Mac.
That's
good
a great
question.
way to sum that up.
I know these QOTDs definitely generate a lot of brain cells and electricity and power going on
Yeah.
inside the intellects that listen to this podcast. So
We've been getting I've been getting a lot of funny responses from people sending me like
Yeah.
what they would do. So definitely like let us know on YouTube. Put your answer in the comments because we want to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good one. I like maybe I'll throw up an Instagram poll on this one. That should be an EB Instagram poll right now. I think that'd be
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that Mac's Brain Blast today was brought to you by Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats. It is Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, little fresh Brackish Life, rocking the long sleeve yellow shirt here. Thank you, Kyle. You make great gear. We appreciate it. All right, let's get into it. This one literally just came over to my phone, so we'll knock this one out first. Don't really need to say too much. Claude Giroux just hit 1,000 career points, so congrats.
Oh,
to
did he
Claude.
really?
Yes.
Good for him. I had no idea he was even like knocking on the door there.
Yeah, I didn't either. Little Stutzla action. Stutzla buried it, and Giroux with the little dish. So congrats to Giroux. All right. With their 63rd win in a 5-3 victory over the Philadelphia Flyers, the Boston Bruins set a new NHL record for wins in a regular season. It was the past record holders were the 18-19 Lightning and the 95-96 Red Wings. They need just 2 more points to break the NHL single season point record of 132 points held by the 1977 Montreal Canadiens, who played in an 80-game season, by the way. So the Bruins would have a couple games in hand there. But yeah, we correctly predicted this from the start of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. We had this team winning the President's Trophy. We had this team setting a new NHL record. We both, or, Harry, you and I said that they were going to trade for Dmitry Orlov. Mac was saying for all season that they were going to get Garnet Hathaway. So everything is just, this house of cards is just falling for us. It's been great.
I think you forgot one. I predicted Linus Ullmark would win the Vezina Trophy.
That's right.
This year,
Yeah,
so.
that's another
of
one.
course. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a layup. We all knew that would happen.
I'm sorry I
Yeah.
forgot that. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we called this from September, so how could you forget? I've been saying it all year long. So yeah, the Bruins, we knew they were really good. So there's that. David Pastrnak is the second player to hit 60 goals this season. He got a hat trick in their record-setting win against the Flyers. Also, fun fact, David Pastrnak is now tied with 2 other all-time greats for most hat tricks in their career against the Flyers with 4. Could you name the other 2?
They also played for the Bruins?
No, it's all-time greats, and when I say all-time greats, you will guess these names.
It's Sid Novi.
Surprisingly, no.
Gretz?
He's one.
Lemieux.
He's the other. Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Pretty wild putting your name in that conversation. Most hat tricks against the Flyers. But yeah, Pasta with 60. So keeps on going, man. He's putting up a great season and earning that extension every game. Connor McDavid becomes the first player to notch 150 points since 1996. He wasn't even born yet, so putting things in perspective there. He is now the sixth different player in league history to notch 150 points. Just 150 points. Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, Phil Esposito, Steve Yzerman, and Bernie Nichols.
Those are some
Thoughts?
names right there. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say.
It has to be like the 12th week in a row we've done this.
Yep. Every week we have a Connor McDavid segment. He breaks some record or chases some record, and I think we just now have a weekly McDavid segment. So
pretty much.
Yeah, 60 goals, 150 points. That's some pretty damn elite company right now. Sidney Crosby became the 15th player in NHL history to reach 1,500 points. He was the sixth fastest player in league history to reach that marker. I believe, well, not this season, but very quickly next season, Ovi will become the 16th. I think he's only got like 14 more to go. So,
yep.
Matter of time before we get that headline. Let's chat some Seattle Kraken. They actually punched their ticket to the dance, led by Jared McCann, Matty Beniers, and Vince Dunn this season. I don't think any of us really had the Kraken making the playoffs, to be honest with you. And now they've got a wild card spot. What are your thoughts on this team?
It'll be exciting to see them in the playoffs. I kind of really want there to be like an expansion playoff series. I'd like them to play the Vegas Golden Knights at some point, but
that would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
No, it'll be interesting to see what they can do in the postseason. I'm sure they're pretty fired up to be there in just their second year. So I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on that.
I do know that they did assign Shane Wright back to the Coachella Valley Firebirds. So there is a chance, I don't really anticipate it, that we could see him play in the NHL playoffs.
I also I think I said it last episode, even though they hadn't clinched yet, that it's like, for me, it's kind of like hey, good season, guys. This is as far as it goes. I don't see them winning a round, no matter who they play.
It's exciting for them, though. You know, it'll be cool to see like what they do, like what their playoff atmosphere will look like. You think that city would get
exciting
up for
the
it?
Fans for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just think like some of those names I just read, I mean, Beniers is getting his love, but McCann, super underrated. Great job, Ron Hextall, for getting rid of him. That was awesome. And Vince Dunn, another great job. A guy who was probably the biggest steal in the expansion draft when that all went down. So, yeah, going to be exciting times for Seattle. Mikko Rantanen of the Colorado Avalanche, he netted his 50th goal of the season against the San Jose Sharks last Thursday. He becomes the first Finnish-born player since Teemu Selanne in 1998 to score 50 goals in a season. I thought that was a pretty cool stat.
I'm actually a little bit surprised by that, to be honest, when you consider all the great Finnish players that we've seen between Selanne and Rantanen. But did you guys see that picture of the two of them from when Mikko was a kid?
Yeah, I did. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I retweeted that from the EB account too. That was that made everything come full circle. I was like, holy shit, like it's that long ago. So
yeah. I think it's also just so impressive that a country as small as Finland has produced so many great NHL players.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. His line mate, Nathan McKinnon, eclipsed the 100-point mark for the first time in his career. I can't believe that's real, but it is. He is going to finish the season above a point per game on just even strength points alone.
Wow, that's crazy.
A lot of people are saying he should be getting some Hart Trophy nominee. He's missed a decent amount of games. I think he's only played like 67 games. All the other guys are going to end up finishing with 77 plus, and he's right there amongst the top.
I don't hate that. I mean, he is without a doubt the heartbeat of that team.
Yeah, love the way he plays too. I know we had this discussion in the group chat, but I could watch Nate Mack in the playoffs all day long.
Same here.
I got no problem watching the Avs go deep. Erik Karlsson, he will finish this season as the Triple Crown winner for NHL defenseman in terms of leading the league in points, goals, and assists for D-men. He's just 2 points away from 100 points. We'll see if he can hit that in San Jose's final 3 games. That would be pretty cool to see. And then lastly, Michigan forward Adam Fantilli. We've been talking about this guy all season long. You've probably heard of him by now. He has become the third freshman to win the Hobie Baker Award, joining Jack Eichel and Paul Kariya. Ever heard of him?
Once or twice.
The projected second overall pick for this year's draft had 30 goals, 65 points in 36 games for Michigan this season.
It's a big deal. I mean, I don't like the fact that he plays for Michigan, but I mean, this guy has been an absolute stud. He reminds me of like a young Jonathan Taves. I think he's got a much better shot, to be honest, and I think he's probably a little bit quicker too. But this guy is a stud, and I think you will see him full-time in the NHL next season.
All right, so if the Caps can't get Bedard, we get him.
Bingo. Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got to stop winning games, though. What's going on?
Yeah, somebody
they need to calm the fuck down.
Somebody should call them and tell them that right now.
Yeah. I think Bowens was commenting on Hockey Collective the other day. I saw his comment on this. If he's listening, I do read the comments. So, yeah. He was saying that in any other draft, Fantilli would probably be a number one pick. But because
pretty much
Connor Beardard, we're preventing that this time. So,
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the discussion portion of the episode. I don't know if you two got a chance to catch this, but that Rangers Lightning game last week, I think it was Wednesday night on TNT, might have been the best regular season game of the year, in my opinion. A 6-3 win for the Rags,
where Shesterkin got like speared, right, and then all hell broke loose.
And Lindgren beat the living shit out of someone, and there were like 5 fights in the game, and it was a close game up until the third period. You know, I know that was a playoff series last year, obviously, so that was a little Eastern Conference rematch. What did you have a chance to catch this at all?
I was bouncing between that, and I don't know why I was doing this, but between the Flames and Jets game that was going on that night, because that had some implications as well, and that was an absolute snooze fest. But the Rangers Tampa game was awesome. I would love to see that playoff series again at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Mac, did you have a chance to catch it or not?
I saw the highlights. I mean, the chippy stuff was definitely exciting, and I think that's a big win for the Rags too, to kind of build some self-esteem there headed into the playoffs.
For sure. This is a strange stat that I found that just doesn't seem real, but I assure you it is. Cam Fowler of the Anaheim Ducks, not a team that we've been talking about a lot lately, set the NHL record for most NHL ice time in a regular season game. He played 38 minutes in 55 seconds in a regular season game last week, which is the new record in a regular season game.
Did it go to overtime?
I don't think so.
I think he just played like 2 periods of hockey by himself.
That's insane. Did they have somebody go down? Like, were they playing with like 4D or something?
I haven't been watching many Ducks games, but there were so many comments that were just like, why?
Yeah, seriously,
Like,
why?
Why did he do that?
Just put a forward back there at this point.
Why break that record? Like, what was the purpose of playing him that much?
Just put Z back there. Why would you?
Well, if you're trying to tank for Beardard,
Right.
I don't know why you would be playing your veteran defenseman that much, right?
Yeah.
Let the young guys go.
And I know it's not what's the record in the playoffs? It was like, didn't Seth Jones set it?
It was that Columbus Lightning series in
That
19,
went like
I
5
think.
overtimes or something horrible like that.
Yeah, he played an outrageous amount.
Okay, so it actually did go to overtime. It was against the Coyotes on April 8th, I believe. So this was just over the weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the game ended with exactly 1 minute left in overtime. So there were 4 extra minutes, but even still, that's pretty nuts.
It's a lot.
Like,
yeah, that's crazy. So I guess shout out to Cam Fowler. Good job. Nice record.
He's probably pretty tired.
His
back and his knees are probably hurting a lot. So he probably needs help with recovery. So when he shows up for, to get on that ice bath and hop on the trainer table the next day, he's probably going to be walking into the Honda Center in his Kane Revives, because Kane Revives are changing the way you recover and work out. Made with bounce back foam from sugar cane. They're not only good for the environment, they're good for you and your body. Head to the link in our bio today to get a pair of the most comfortable shoes you will ever own.
Alrighty, and we will move on to the discussion of the week. Nick, I'll let you tee this one up.
Yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to the Quinnipiac Bobcats for winning their first NCAA hockey championship by defeating Minnesota in overtime. I know you guys were watching that game as well. It was an unreal game. One of the best 2-2 hockey games in regulation I think I've seen in a long time. QU stayed around all day. They, hung around with that Minnesota team, defended them so well. Tie the game with the goalie pulled on a power play, like right as it's expiring with 3 minutes to go. Hell of a call by the coach. And then they work their magic. 10 seconds into overtime, great pass. And Jacob Quillen just absolutely buried that thing. And you could just see what that meant to that team. I mean, the interview with head coach Rand Pecknold at the end was amazing. I had no idea, but he has been that coach since I was born.
29 years as head coach, never won a national title.
And he's been at Quinnipiac for 29 years.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. If you haven't watched the interview, you should, because he literally says, like, I'm just trying not to cry. Yeah.
Wow.
He asked the reporter for a hug, and it was awesome. It was really cool to see.
That's so sweet.
I think one of my favorite things about this has just been the fact that it's a small school.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would say my favorite thing about it is that I almost went to Quinnipiac. They really wanted me to play hockey there for their D1 team. But I told them that I can't because I have to go to Marquette and be a journalist. So,
there you go.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Shout out to Skylar Brindamore. He's on that team as well.
There you go.
Yeah. I learned over on Twitter, Turk, our good friend Turk, Quinnipiac alum, actually.
Oh, is he?
So, yeah, he was all riled up after that one. It was just awesome. I mean, they pulled the goalie with 3 minutes left, which was a little ballsy because they were only down by 1.
And they were on a power play. I mean, the Gophers could just take a shot at the empty cage.
Yeah,
Harry, you know who else is a Quinnipiac alum?
Who?
Remember Jack Brust?
Oh yeah, Jack Brust is too. I knew that. Yeah, he was sharing that on his Instagram as well. And then that set face-off play, if you haven't seen the replay, it's definitely a set play. 10 seconds into overtime, bing, bang, boom. That's game, and probably the best celly you're ever going to see. It was
a great one. It was the old school Timu one.
Solani shooting the going duck hunting on the ice, and then he throws his stick into the stands. Like, it was so cool. So definitely shout out to Quinnipiac. That was a hell of a hockey game. I love college hockey.
I think there's something to this small schools winning this hockey championship thing here, guys. These players, awesome. When they go, they stay at these small schools for 4 years. Like these guys from Minnesota, they go for 1 or 2 years, and then they get drafted first, second, third overall, and then they leave.
No, it's really badass to see, honestly.
Yeah, I love it. So great end to the college hockey season. A hell of a Frozen Four, hell of a national championship. And shout out to, I think Butchie Gross was on the mic. Just incredible job calling that game. He's so good.
The guy between the bench, Cody, I thought he did a great job as well.
He did too. I would agree with that. ESPN did a great job on that one. They should promote those guys to the varsity squad. So, all right, let's move on to the interview with Ken. Just want to once again thank him for coming on. We will start that interview right now. All righty, and we are now welcomed by Ken from the SinBin. I guess I call it a Twitter account, but you run a blog website. Is that fair to say?
We like to call it a website. Blog has a bad connotation that says that I live in my parents' basement. I do not. I actually own my own house, not by the blog's doing, but by my wife's doing.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a step in the right direction. The blogger
world. We're killing the game. We're killing the game over here.
We've had some that can't say the same as you, so
absolutely not.
It is a pleasure to have you on. I would consider you our number one go-to shop for anything Vegas Golden Knights related, especially on Twitter. Yeah, so go follow SinBin on Twitter if you want all the Vegas Golden Knights happenings. But we're happy to have you on the show. We just got to kind of meet and greet a little bit before we started recording. Why don't you tell us a little bit just about how you started the blog in general? And I'm sure it's going to be a cool story with Vegas kind of being a recent expansion.
Yeah, we're going on. This is our 8th year. We had our 7th birthday not too long ago, which is kind of weird when it's the 6th year of the Golden Knights. We started well before the Golden Knights started. Basically, what happened was I was a radio producer for this really, really bad talk show in Vegas. Nonetheless, my producer, the other producer, and he kept asking me, the host, can we get the latest on the hockey team? And we'd pull it up, and it was January, and we pull it up, and there's a story. And then March tells us to pull it up, same story. And then April, same story. I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me, and the story was 12,000 people put down season ticket deposits. I'm like, wait a minute. So 3 months have passed and not a single person's written a news story about this. Like, what is going on? So I was like, well, maybe if we start a website, blog at the time, it was in my mom's basement at the time, maybe we'll be able to get, press credentials, and then I'll get to go to all the games for free. It was like my way to get season tickets. That was the idea. And that's what we did. And, then no one covered the team for a good 2 years after that, basically until the opening game. And here we are 7 years later, going on year 8. And, this will be our 6th or 5th trip to the playoffs. I'm planning on going to all the games, home and away. So yeah, it's going to be good. This is fun.
That's awesome. I'm glad you guys have had that success and you're able to do that and, get media credentials to follow the team around, because let's be real, that's the dream.
It's nice. It's not bad. I mean, it does come with some pushback from the team from time to time that I have to deal with, but we'll live with it. Well, it's okay.
Well, I mean, hey, you saw an untapped market and you went after it. I definitely respect that.
Absolutely.
It worked out. And the team helped out a little bit. The first year really was not bad.
No, not at all.
No.
I want to ask this question before we get into the specifics of this year's Vegas team and with the playoffs right on the horizon. What is the Golden Knights organization meant to like Vegas, the city? Like, I've been out there a couple of times. I told you I have family. There's a lot of those license plates, like a lot more than I thought there were. It seems like it's booming over there. Yeah,
there's no doubt that like for a while there was a lot of people that lived here that didn't really know how to show people that they lived here. It's like it's not really a way to say it. Like UNLV is not quite the same as what it used to be. The run and Rebel days with Tark and all that. That was the 90s, early 90s. Like I was not around here at that time. Like they needed something. Like you should have seen it. The way the city grasped onto a little league team in 2015, you'd have thought it was the greatest thing that had ever happened. And you could kind of tell like they want something. We want something, some sort of hat or shirt or something for our car that says like, yeah, I actually do live here. Like, yeah, it's pretty wild. You visit here all the time on vacation. We actually live here. And this was kind of that opportunity to do that. And then of course, it was a few days before the first game, we get the tragedy of the shooting on the Strip. And then, then it became like they kind of lifted the community up. That was like the public funeral was that very first game. And it was kind of a way to bring the community together. And it's been a really, really strong connection ever since. We could use the final step now, right? We could use that parade. They had a parade when they lost in the Cup final, and I was very mad about it. I'm hoping that we get a parade for what they actually are supposed to have a parade for. I heard San Diego's doing that for college basketball. No parades when you lose, God damn it.
I'm in total agreement with that.
So stupid. Don't do it.
Because there's just something about a parade when you win that really just,
great.
It's the best thing ever. I experienced that as a Caps fan in 2018. It was the greatest day of my life. So
why you got to bring that up? You're the worst. You're the absolute worst.
You got 2 Caps fans and 1 Penguins fan that you're talking to here.
Right.
So
well,
I always for Vegas a little bit. I guess when they took Fleury, it was cool. I root for that. I have a little family, so I always have a soft spot. But you talk about having a parade for winning a cup. I would say, in my opinion, everybody out west right now, we're about a week out in the playoffs, is talking about Edmonton. They're talking about Colorado going back to back. Maybe a little bit of Dallas chatter here and there. And you guys are right there with all of those teams. I feel like somehow you have carved yourself a nice little dark horse spot here.
A little bit. I think everybody kind of looks at the West and it is certainly a little bit below the East as a whole, but someone has to win the West and you only have to go through one team when we finally get to the East. Maybe it's Boston, maybe it's not. We'll have to wait and see. I do think when you look at kind of the course of what has gone on with this Golden Knights season, they started out real good and then they were just barely average for like 40 games in the middle of the season. And then now recently it's been real good again. So I understand some of the hesitancy. The advanced numbers don't really say that they're a dominant NHL team. Any stats you pull up, their power play is not very good. Their penalty kill has been better, but the overall numbers aren't all that good. They don't score a ton. They don't have great goaltending. They don't do the exciting things. Like they have some exciting players, but I get why they're not really being viewed as like that dominant team. I think once the bracket comes out though, once we get to the end of the week and we get to that point where you see all the names and all the teams that are lined up, basically if you think Vegas is going to beat Edmonton, which would probably be a second round matchup, you are likely to pick Vegas to come all the way out of there because everyone's going to have that same thought. Like, okay, I think they're going to get through the first round, whoever it is. If they beat Edmonton, then you're going to see, all right, now I got to pick Colorado or Dallas. They're probably going to have a tough trip to get there. Now you're going to start seeing more people pick Vegas. I think you are going to see Vegas picks once we get the bracket. At the moment, it's trendy to pick Dallas, to pick Edmonton. It's always trendy to not pick the 1 seed. But once we get that bracket, I think you'll see more people picking Vegas.
I think, one of the things that sort of makes me buy into this team is the fact that they did go through that, mediocre adversity stretch throughout the middle of the season. The fact that they've got a 2-time Stanley Cup winning goaltender. I know, he's a little bit past his prime, but that experience absolutely matters. And simply just the fact that as a Caps fan, I'll tell you that when you go into a playoff as a dark horse, sometimes it's better for you than going in as the 1 seed, President's Trophy winning, everyone's picking you.
I am interested to see kind of what the pressure is on the team because the first round, they're absolutely going to be expected to win. If it's Winnipeg, Nashville, Calgary, Seattle, LA even, everyone's going to be thinking that they're going to win. So I don't think they quite have the same thing that maybe Washington did back that year when they made it. Certainly the Blues had when they went. I think they're more in like the Washington teams of the years before where you're like,
yep.
I know they can do it. I know they are good enough to do it, but there's a lot telling you that maybe they cannot. I think they can win the Stanley Cup. I will tell you, I do not believe they will win the Stanley Cup.
I want to hear your thoughts on Jack Eichel, a guy, I mean, I don't really need to say much. It was the biggest headline when he ended up coming over to you guys. It's kind of been an up and down season for him so far, and he's going to get his first crack at NHL playoff experience. What are your thoughts on him so far this season, and then how you think he'll do in the postseason?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see who the matchup is to kind of determine what we're expecting out of Jack Eichel. I think if they get Winnipeg, he's probably going to be a point per game player and everyone's going to be all excited and blowing him about how amazing he is in the playoffs. If they play LA, I think they could win the LA series and maybe he gets 3 points in that series and has a pretty halfway decent series. Like the matchup is going to matter. The Golden Knights are not going to play 5-4 hockey unless the other team drags them into 5-4 hockey, which LA will not, Calgary would not. Like there are other options that may not, even Seattle may not if we get to that point. So I'm expecting much more of what we've seen out of Jack this season. There are going to be games where he's real good. There are going to be games where you don't really even know he's on the team. And then when push comes to shove and all the numbers come out, he'll be a little bit short of a point per game with like, a 2 goals a series, and it's going to be all right. Like if they win, he's going to get all the credit. If they don't, he's going to be the GOAT. Like that's just the way that it goes. It's weird. It's a weird situation for him.
I think that's a very good way to put it. Honestly, another question that I'm kind of curious about, being someone that followed the situation closely all year because I had Logan Thompson on my fantasy team all year, and I was like, what is going on with him? What's the deal with the goaltending situation in Vegas? Do you know like the latest on him? Is he at all in the picture? Is it just all quick now?
No, it's definitely not. All 4 goalies were in practice today. Aiden Hill ended up playing 2 periods for the Silver Knights a couple of nights ago, so he's kind of back in the picture. The expectation is Brossoit plays again tomorrow, which would be 4 out of 5 for him. I think he's I think he's like the clear leader in the clubhouse to be the starter in game 1 of the playoffs. He has not lost in regulation all season. He's the most consistent guy that they have. I think Quick's going to be a tough draw to even get back in there at all. It looks like Thompson's probably going to get maybe the last game, but he's going to be healthy going into the playoffs. Brossoit seems to me to be the starter at the moment, unless things really blow up on him. But I do think the leash is going to be short. Like you could see them use 3 goalies in a round this season.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they have all that depth too. Cause with the LT thing, it's like he came back and then he was immediately hurt again. And so like, even if he is healthy, it's like, well, you never know how healthy he is, especially come playoffs. So it's definitely good that you guys have a couple of options there in your back pocket. It would be really interesting if you guys end up getting Winnipeg and Brossoit as the starter, though. That'd be kind of fun.
Right, with Brossoit against Hellebuck. And I mean, the one problem I have with all the depth of the goalies is like, It's very commonly said, if you don't have a starter, you don't have if you have more than one starter, you don't have a starter, right? It's kind of like a quarterback in football where it's like, yeah, they're all right. That we can make an argument for any of them. I just think it's going to be difficult. Like, we have to remember, two of them, not just one, two of them will not even dress for game one of the playoffs. Like, they're going to have to make a decision for two of these guys. It's very possible that Jonathan Quick and Logan Thompson do not dress for game one of the playoffs. Like, then you have to manage the egos. Then you have to manage the practice time. How is this all going to work? Like, if one of them was way better than the other, it would be so much easier. But every single goal they allow the entire playoffs, we're going to be saying, yeah, but there's three others that might have stopped that. And they're all so different. Like, it looks good on paper. It looks like it's going to be okay. I just feel like it's a ticking time bomb waiting to blow up here.
That is a crazy storyline. It'll be interesting to follow. And I know we keep drawing comparisons, but obviously reminds me a little bit of the Caps 2018 again, where, I mean, we had Grubauer start the first two games, right? And then Holtby came in relief in game
Right.
two, and they never looked back after that. So
that was only two, though. Like,
Right.
what happens if they lose a couple of games, then another guy wins a couple, then he loses a couple? Are we going back to goalie A? Are we moving on to goalie C? Does
Right.
goalie D even come into play? Like,
You guys need a flow chart where it's like, was it a bad goal?
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Dress
right.
Jonathan Quick. Okay.
And then how many is it? Like, and how bad is the bad goal? Because if you watch Aiden Hill play, it's every single game he passes the puck into his own goal. So what happens when that? Like, I don't know. It's wild. But that being said, like, when you watch the Golden Knights play and when they're playing at their absolute best, it doesn't fucking matter who's in the goal. They're all the same. Like, if they play the right style, you play the way Bruce Cassidy wants to play, it does not matter who your goalie is as long as he doesn't completely shit himself. And none of them really have much of this season.
Yeah, I can relate to that. Last season, as the Penguins fan here, we went from DeSmith in game one against the Rangers to having some guy being praised about his diet for spicy pork games 2 through 6. And then we had a guy with a broken foot in game 7. So
right.
It's a carousel. I
you don't know.
I can relate to that. Oh crap. What was the question I was going to ask? I just had it lined up. You were talking about how they're going to have a tough decision about who's going to be in the lineup for game one, round one. Ironically, I saw today that Mark Stone may or may not have practiced perfectly timed the long-term injury.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Right? I would agree. So what are your thoughts on that? What are you hearing?
Well, I'll kind of poo-poo the whole they cheated the LTIR thing because there's a couple of reasons for it. Number one, if you take the lineup and you put Mark Stone in the lineup, even with their full lineup, they're basically right at the salary cap. They're not that far over, if over at all. Obviously, like, Brossoit wouldn't count, Quick wouldn't count. That's $7 million. So, like, there's ways that whatever. Part two, the dude had 2 back surgeries in 8 months. The fact that he's back on the ice 69 days after he had his second back surgery in 8 months, like, it's a minor miracle in the first place, let alone what's going to happen moving forward. And if they were going to use all this magical LTIR space to get way better, you're really going to buy Jonathan Quick, Teddy Bluger, and Ivan Barbashev? Like, what are we doing here? So I don't think it's as crazy. I do think the timing is quite unbelievable. I know Mark Stone. I know the type of player that Mark Stone is, the type of person that Mark Stone is, and I'm terrified for him. Like, you can't have 3 back surgeries in a year. You can't do it. Like, humans do not recover from that.
Or just
can't do it.
3 back surgeries in general.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea that we're going to be potentially him playing a game inside of 3 months, and it's a playoff game, and it's his first game in quite some time. Is this worth it? Like, do we really need to do this to beat the Winnipeg Jets? Like, I just, man, it's going to look bad if he hurts himself. It scares me. I don't know that it's worth it right off the bat. I personally am hoping he does not play game 1 and 2. If we end up in a situation where he has to come in and they got to put him in, if we want to make that risk, fine. But man, it just seems like you're risking so much to put him in there early for what?
So
Yeah,
like
I
round
respect
one,
that mentality. Also, like like you said, maybe just bench him for the first game, see how it goes, and then see if you need him.
You could
round one,
buy
game
2 weeks,
seven, you bring
right?
him in.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if you get to that point, and then
Yeah.
there becomes the question of like, yeah, all right, he's had 2 back surgeries in 8 months. He really didn't hold up through the last one. He had to go right back out and have this one. There's probably a part in his mind that says, how many more playoff runs do I have? How many times am I going to make it through a regular season again? Here's a team that's one of the best in the entire conference. If I can play, this might be it for me. And I get that, but man, it just, if it's not it for you, is it going to look bad if he plays 8 minutes and then has another back surgery?
Right.
Yeah, that would definitely suck. You mentioned the guy behind the bench boss, Cassidy, first season with the Knights. You know, at the start of the year, them and the Bruins were going at the same pace. Obviously, the Bruins are doing their own thing, but I think Bruce has done a hell of a job over in Vegas. What have your thoughts been on him in his first season with you guys?
Yeah, he's been really good. Like he kind of shored up how they defend. I do think that it's going to be interesting once we get to the playoffs that some of the things that DeBoer was doing over the last couple of years, we're trying to really encourage them to get more transition offense. That's how they're best when they score in transition. That hasn't really been the case, and they've still kind of scored in transition through the regular season. I wonder what happens in the playoffs when maybe some of that does go away. If they play Winnipeg, it'll still be there. If they play anybody else, maybe not. They definitely are more comfortable in their own end. They definitely make life a little bit easier on the goalies. They're good in the neutral zone. He didn't fix the power play, which is a huge problem. Like that's part of why DeBoer got fired, was the power play went over in an entire playoff series in the Western Conference Finals, or I guess it was conference finals against Montreal that year. He has not fixed it. This power play is crap, like really bad. And it was good when Mark Stone was in there, so maybe it gets better with him in there. But boy, was it bad, and has it been bad for a while. And that was kind of one of the main reasons he got hired. So that is a part that you have to keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
One of my favorite players when he was a Capital, I think he's been absolutely fantastic for you guys, has been Chandler Stevenson. He's played everywhere up and down that lineup. I mean, he's been your top center at times. Can you speak a little bit about him?
Yeah, when he first got here, they kind of thought he was going to be a third or fourth liner, and you could see the speed. He's getting all these breakaway opportunities, kind of playing with higher end players, seemed to elevate his game a little bit more. He was really good, like basically lights out through the first half of the season. He makes the All-Star game. He does the fastest skater thing. Didn't do great in that, but that's okay. Like he's had a really good season. And then over the past 2 months or so, it hasn't quite been as good. Like it's been, he's putting up 2 points every 10 games, where he was 9 per 10 games for a while there. So they're going to need him to be good. He has been good the last couple of games. I like this new setup where it's potentially Barbashev and Kessel with him. They seem to be a little bit more connected than they were with some of the other options that he has been given, but he's going to have to be good. He's going to be one that's going to be under the microscope. Like it's not going to be as public as the Eichel stuff, but if this team wins in the playoffs, Chandler Stevenson is going to have a good series. If they don't, he's probably going to be not very good.
You know who I've actually been really interested in with you guys this year is Paul Cotter. That guy has really shown some bright spots throughout the year. And obviously there's some consistency, comes and goes a little bit, but it's your first year in the NHL and you're a young guy. And but yeah, he's had some really good flashes, I thought. American born kid too, so it's always fun to root for that.
I'm interested to see how he fits in going into the postseason, because it does seem like Cassidy wants him out of the lineup and will take him out of the lineup anytime he can. And they have a lot of different options here. Like Bluger's been a healthy scratch the last couple of games. Looks like that might end up happening again. You don't usually trade for a guy at the deadline and then healthy scratch him in the playoffs to play a guy that you had that was a rookie. Like not normally what you're going to do. So we'll see. I assume they're going to have some injuries through the postseason. They're one of the most injured teams we've ever seen. They're not suddenly going to be healthy for 2 months. So there's going to be opportunities, but Cassidy does not really like to use him. And I don't fully understand why yet. So we'll see. He's going to have to really carve out a name for himself in the playoffs and play the right way a lot if he's going to stay in the lineup, if he does even get his chance. I would guess he does not start the postseason in the lineup, even though he's had a good season.
Yeah, 13 goals. I mean, I wouldn't have guessed
He's been good.
That's Yeah, it's a weird stat line. 13 goals and 5 assists. You don't see
Yeah,
that too often.
Yeah, it's very odd. I mean, he's played in a lot of different situations. Like, he's played with good players. He's played with guys down the lineup. Like, there's been a lot of different places that he's played in. And I think he's probably more like a bottom six guy and should probably more be a nice depth scoring option that chips in here and there and then brings some like physicality. But they like to use him up the lineup. They like to use him in the middle. We'll see. I don't know where he's going to land.
Another player I've been really impressed with in the past couple seasons has been Nick Waugh. I remember when you guys first got him, I wasn't really sure how he was going to fit into that system, into that lineup, but at times he's looked really, really good this year. What's the consensus on him right now?
Yeah, he was out for a little while, and then there was kind of a weird spot of where he was going to fit back in. He plays center, he plays wing, he can play down the lineup, he can play up the lineup, and he's been pretty good at most of it. I think he's better as a center than as a winger, and it seems like Cassidy tends to agree with me. The problem is it's awfully difficult to find that setup when you have a Pavel Dorofeev on your second line and an Amadio on your first line or things like that. It's like, do we really want that in the playoffs? And we have a Nick Waugh, we have an Ivan Barbashev. Those guys could potentially go up. Kessel, Stevenson. So where he lands, I think, is going to depend on that's what you're going to get from him. If he lands as the fourth line center, you're going to get a guy that controls faceoffs, that gets the puck out of the zone, that plays solid defensively, doesn't do much offensively. If he ends up on the second line as a winger with Marchessault and Carlson, now all of a sudden we could be seeing a point, every other game or so, big time goals, big time situations, him taking out the best players on the other team. They just did a whale of a job against the Stars top line, Hintz, Robertson, and Pavelski. Pavelski looked like he'd never played hockey again. And I think a lot of that had to do with how good Nick Waugh was on him. So that says a lot about what they could potentially do, because they have to play defense. They have to be an elite defensive team if they're going to get 16 wins.
So let's get to the good stuff. We're right here around playoff time. We obviously don't have a bracket in front of us, unfortunately. But you can kind of maybe make some inferences right now. Stanley Cup prediction, or Stanley Cup final prediction, and then winner. You might have Vegas in there, you might not. And then after that, I'd like to hear where you think Vegas finally ends up.
So I like the Golden Knights' chances in the first round, basically whoever they play. There are 5 potential options. I think that LA is the toughest of those 5. I think the other one, they're in pretty good shape. You get a little concerned. Maybe they get goalied by Saros or Hellebuck or something like that. Not that worried about that. So I definitely have them going through the first round. The second round, I don't like the chances against Edmonton. I just don't know that the goalies that they have, the way that they defend, the amount of time they spend in their own zone, like, it can work against a lot of teams. I don't know if it works consistently against the dialed in McDavid and Draisaitl in a postseason series. Like, I think they'll score. They might score 3, 3.5, maybe even 4 a game, and then lose that series going pretty deep. I don't like a matchup against them. If it's pretty much anyone else, though, then they can potentially get to the Western Conference Finals. I don't mind the matchup against Dallas. I don't mind the matchup against Colorado. So if you can build me a path that does not involve Edmonton, I'll take Vegas to win the conference. If I have to go through Edmonton at some point, I don't like the chances. If it has to be LA, Edmonton, Colorado, that's a gauntlet, right? And then I don't like their chances against anybody in the Eastern Conference. I think the Eastern Conference will win the cup this year unless Edmonton or Colorado goes nuts in that final. I pick one. Like, I could see Boston, New York, Jersey, even like Carolina has been playing like crap. They could get hot. Hell, Tampa, like, what are they going to just suddenly suck? Like, it's a gauntlet over there. So I don't like their chances to win the cup.
I noticed there was one Eastern team in there that wasn't included, and that was the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, that was I don't like their shit. Well, I mean, I could see them beating Tampa in the first round. They've been a bit of a mess, but like, are we really going to see Toronto go 3
we asked this question to everybody, so
we have to ask. So do they?
Well, what
Tampa?
Are we supposed to do? Like, I went to the University of Missouri. It's the show me state. Like, you got to right. I don't even know if I've been alive the last time they won a playoff series. Like, you got to show me something. So I can't do it. I can't even pick them to win the first round.
Wow.
You can't do it. How are you gonna do it?
Because you
don't
gotta
know.
be right eventually, right?
Law
Like,
of
don't you wanna
averages.
be-
You just
No,
gotta
you
go.
don't.
It's
How
gotta
many
come
times?
around.
I don't think so.
It's like
Give me Tampa.
There's a friend I have who's a big sports bettor. Obviously, we like to do that too. And I was like, I just think Toronto's due. He's like, I don't believe in due. It's not a
No.
thing. It's a myth.
No,
I was like, okay,
that's correct.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to take all the data and just believe it. And if you're wrong, it's, well, fluke.
I got to make you pick an Eastern team though, because you named all the good ones. Who you gonna take?
Rangers.
Okay. So you're like us. We all
Yeah.
have them too. That's
Sucks.
But
and
yeah.
I'm a Gallant guy. I love Gerard Gallant. He was the best when he was here. He's awesome. And I love the goalie. I like the amount of offense they have. I just there's something about the President's Trophy. Same thing. Like,
Yeah.
We've
why are
been
you
saying
going to pick
this.
Boston? Right. Why are you going to pick Boston? Yeah. And it's not no fun if I come on here and pick Boston. That guy's boring. That's no good.
As much as it like tore our souls in half, I think all of us picked the Rangers to win the East.
Well, we did
Yeah.
before the season started, and now we're like, I mean, I'm not gonna pick
Yeah,
someone
right,
else
why
because I'm like,
change?
it could
Why
still be
change
right.
it?
So yeah.
But that Eastern series, if it is indeed them versus Jersey round one, is going to be one of the best ones in my opinion. So
brutal. Like you look at the difference in the matchups, and it's like, okay, Vegas is going to finish first or second, and they get Winnipeg, Seattle, or Calgary. And like, come on.
yeah,
I don't know how the Flames are even in a playoff contention with some of the.
They're not. They're
we
terrible.
We were reading some of their stats a couple episodes ago. They set like multiple NHL records for lows this season.
Well, but at the same time, if you like expected goals, and I'm kind of into that a little bit, they're unreal at that.
Yep.
It's like I don't understand that team at all. Hating your coach matters, I think.
If you look at Mac said this a couple episodes ago, look at how many overtime losses they have. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I think they probably have
insane.
18 at this point, or it was something crazy, like 15 a couple weeks ago. But
I actually looked this up today with Vegas. They've played 22 overtime games in their 80 games. That's 27.5% into overtime. Like I don't know what to make of that. Like you get a lot of points off just doing that. They've won a lot of them. They won 13. It is a lot of extra hockey too. Does that mean we see a bunch of those in the playoffs and then they're good at 3-on-3? So I don't know. Not sure what to make of that. I ran across that today. I was just looking at some numbers and like, whoa, those numbers are really big. 22 of 80. Like that's a lot. It wouldn't shock me if there's a 23rd before they get to 82 games. Like that's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. Wow.
Some other numbers about the Golden Knights that I'm taking a look at right now. I didn't realize how good of a road record this team has. 25, 7, and 8 on the road. I mean, you talked about playing against, Nashville and Winnipeg. Both of those buildings are very tough to win playoff games in, but that road record's got to make you feel a lot better about that.
The problem is historically, those numbers do not hold up in the playoffs.
Nope.
Like if you're good on the road, doesn't fucking matter when you get to the playoffs. Like, so they need to start playing better at home. They have been doing that recently. That was real bad for a while there. I think the road record is just, they scored first in like every single road game the entire season. You do that, you're going to win most of them. I don't think it's all that much one way or the other. I don't think it's depth or, matchups or anything of that. I just think they got out to an early lead on a lot of these teams, and they are historically very good at beating shitty teams. Yeah. Like look at the bubble year. They're like the best team of all time because they played 4 of the worst teams the NHL's ever seen. Like it is what it is. Like they're very good. You play at Anaheim, they don't lose. They don't lose to Anaheim. They don't lose to San Jose, or at least for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think I have any more questions. You covered that really well. I think NHL Network should have you on to talk VGK. Holy hell. You know your stuff.
I've been doing this for a long time. It's really all I think about, and it's a bit concerning when I like lay down. I'm like still thinking about it. Like, what are you doing? It's game 67. Who gives a shit? Calm down.
I'll take that back. I'll ask you one more question, but it's more
right.
like a blogger question because I've asked this to some of the other bloggers. Does your brain ever you kind of just answered it, but do you ever switch off? Like I feel like you have to be on Twitter or writing something constantly.
Yeah. I mean, you're constantly trying to come up with the next thing to write or the next storyline or whatever, however you want to go down that road. I do kind of we don't do anything on Sundays unless there's a game. I love the NFL. So I'm not working on Sundays, and then, NFL ends and now I'm golfing or some shit. I just picked up golf. I'm god awful at it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm wasting a lot of time and money. It's a nightmare. But yeah, for the most part, I think the one thing that does suck is I like to sleep until like 9 or 10 or so. And like they make trades at 7 in the morning, like so fucking often. And it's the worst. Because then you wake up and you're like, God damn it. Now I'm 2 hours behind. Everyone thinks I'm an idiot because I don't have a tweet that says they got Ivan Barbashev. Whoop-de-doo. But like, yeah, that sucks. Because like for a while, then before the All-Star or before the trade deadline, I'll like set alarms at 7 and 8. And I didn't this year for the one day. They made a deal like 5 or 6 days before the deadline. I didn't do it. I'm like, oh man. And the Eichel, I missed the Eichel trade too. That one was at like 6 in the morning. Stop doing this.
And that was after like 4 weeks of it's happening today. It's happening today. It's happening today.
Like, that one we knew eventually. And like everyone knew my thoughts on that. Luckily, which I'm not sure if you guys know my thoughts. I think it's the worst move the Golden Knights have ever made. And I think it's destroying the franchise. Ooh. And I think he's a great player.
I think I said that as well.
Yeah, they were not in a position to make that move, and it cost them 7 players, which is like 3 picks: Pacioretty, Dadonov, Krebs, and Tuck. Like it was too much. It burned down the depth of the organization, and they've been able to kind of keep it chugging along at the moment. But like as we get to a lot of these players getting older, Marchessault, Carlson, Smith, Stone's got multiple back surgeries. Eichel's not young. He's not old, but he's not young. Like they're going to have to start replacing it with guys from the pipeline, and they don't have anyone. Like you're talking about Paul Cotter. It's undisputable. He's the highest ceiling like prospect they have. Like it's not great. And Dorofiev's been good. I don't quite buy it yet, but it's it's going to be difficult. Like they kind of put themselves in we got to win now, and we'll see. Like here we go. Or it could be 1 seed in the Western Conference, so maybe it is going to work out. But it's long term. It's going to be tough.
Put all the chips on the table, no pun intended.
Yeah, I mean that's how they do it. That's how we do it. Except usually when you do that, you have to stand up and shake the guy's hand, and you lose. And that's the worst. Nobody the handshakes. We all celebrate handshakes. It's the worst. I'm like, it's great. We do this. I'm happy about it. But like, there is nothing worse than losing a poker hand when the guy sucks out on the river, and you have to get up and say nice shit about him. Like, you sir are a moron. Well, that's why I don't play poker as much anymore, or I play on the computer so I could just throw it.
There you go.
I have anger issues, it seems.
It goes
I've learned
with hockey.
Now that we're on this.
We sports bet, so we see we have our little episodes.
Yeah. Shout out to John Rahm, nailed that one.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
That good. Yeah, that was good. Yeah. That was a good one.
I was happy for him. He seems like a likable guy, you know.
Yeah, he's a Spanish. He gets mad too. I like that. He gets all mad. Yeah. I am mad, however. On 18, I would have won if he had bogeyed 18. We were having a pool at my buddy's house, and I would have won. He smashes it into the woods, hits a provisional, and then walks up there, and the ball's right in the middle of the goddamn fairway, and he gets a par. Fuck you.
Yeah.
It cost me $200.
They were saying, well, when I say that, I mean my Twitter timeline, but it was telling me that
Augusta, a tree, right?
Yeah, like in general, there were so many like instances where people were so far off the fairway where like any other course, the average score would have been like 2 strokes higher. And these guys are getting out of these jams because I guess Augusta's like a little bit of an easier fairway to play. I don't know.
He smashed it off to the left, and it hit a tree and went right back out in the fairway. Like, come on, this is bogus. I do that, and it hits some old lady.
Yeah,
it's like I'm gonna go to court and shit. Like it's bad. That never happened.
Right.
Rooting for weird things in sports is the best. It's a mental disorder. I can tell you these guys are watching the Caps Islanders score right now, hoping the Caps lose so my Penguins stay out of the playoffs. But the Caps are up 3-0 on the Islanders right now, which is helping my Penguins.
Not good.
So we'll see what happens. But
boy, the Penguins are going to have a tough time if they do get in, though.
You know, I am kind of taking the approach where I'm like, we're at the finish line. You might as well just finish the fight. Like, just make the playoffs. We'll get swept. Whatever.
I mean, how much better is that? Like, it's just gonna piss you off for a week.
It probably
you
will.
Get like a worse draft pick too.
Well,
I don't know though. If I were you, I think it'd be worse to miss by like 1 point and then you still get a pretty shitty draft pick. Like,
it's also it's good for our numbers. We need someone to throw a fit on the podcast. So yeah,
there you go. That's a good point. That's a good point. I like that.
But
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
Well, if Vegas loses round 1, maybe we'll get you back on.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be angry if they lose to Winnipeg. Oh my god.
Yeah,
But
that would be bad.
we definitely appreciate your time. Wishing you the best of luck in the postseason. I know that you and your guys are going to be busy, so good luck with everything. And whoever you guys land in round one, I mean, I'll be rooting for you guys. So
They're going to win round one. I'm not nervous about round one. I'll be nervous when they're down 2.
yeah, perfect. So go follow SinBin on Twitter. Is that the exact handle? I can't remember.
SinBin Vegas.
SinBin Vegas on Twitter. They are your one-stop shop for everything VGK related. They do an excellent job. So be sure to go give them a follow, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Once again, a huge thank you to Ken for joining us. Hopefully, if there's any Vegas fans listening, they got some insight there. And if you don't follow Vegas very closely, hopefully you learned something. I think they're going to be a team to reckon with this postseason. Let's talk about around the league real quick. Just a couple NCAA to NHL signings. The Devils, they pull up the Hughes brother, Luke Hughes, the defenseman. He's going to be potentially playing on the same team as Jack if they actually use him in a real game. I think everyone's got their eyes peeled for this one.
Yeah, and Quinn actually said some pretty interesting things about him the other day. His older brother was like, he's going to be better than me. He's going to be better than Zach Werenski. You know, he is absolutely high on this kid.
Yeah, I know he's his brother, but to say those things as confidently as he did, you know that there's something there to it. So Luke Hughes going to the Devils is going to be a very big one. Nick, I'll let you actually read through this because I can't pronounce names. So.
Yep. The Sharks have finally signed goaltender Mangus Krona from Denver. I was waiting for that one for a long, long time. Yeah.
Mac, you look like you want to say something.
Just Mangus, just to kind of further drive home that point.
Yeah. That is the only point that needs to be driven home.
Yeah, Mangus. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
You got the next one too.
Yeah, the Ducks got defenseman Jackson Lacombe from Minnesota. That's a big one. You're going to have him and Drysdale on that back end, and that's going to be a very mobile defense core very soon. The Ducks, they get a piece for their playoff run. They signed Gopher defenseman Brock Faber, who is going to make his debut tonight with the Wild, I believe. And then the Leafs also signed star forward Matthew Nyes from the Gophers, who's going to start as well for the Leafs tonight.
That's going to be electric.
That's going to be awesome. And that guy, both of those guys really are NHL ready now.
Quite literally at this point. Yeah, you could say cracking the ice. So, yeah, going to be cool to see the college guys go up to the show. You know, it's cool to see in the NHL the college guys get brought up. We see it in other sports all the time. They follow the draft so closely. You don't see it as much in hockey because you got, you know, major, junior, overseas, all that stuff. This is cool to see. So
absolutely.
Definitely rooting for the guys. Some injuries and updates. Cale Makar and Darren Helm are out indefinitely with lower body injuries. Makar's the reigning Conn Smythe and Norris Trophy winner. He's been spectacular when available, but he's only played in 60 games this season. So the Avs are definitely hoping he'll be okay. And Coach Bednar, added that both players are dealing with new injuries, and it's not just maintenance. So a little bit of panic over in Colorado.
I would not feel good about that if I was an Avs fan.
Yeah, that's like kind of a deal breaker for me, honestly. I've been kind of shitting on them as we go into the postseason anyway, saying like I don't think they're all they're cracked up to be just because they won last year. I know they have Gabe Landeskog. He's back already, or he's about to come back.
I think he's on the horizon of coming back.
Yeah. Okay, but still, I mean, yeah, losing Makar, I think that literally could be a major deal breaker.
I totally agree with you, and I'm still not sold on goaltending.
No, same.
Some people would say he's the best player on the team. So
I would.
Maybe.
With how valuable a mobile puck moving
defenseman
you're
right.
is.
Might not be the best, but he's almost definitely the most important. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
That's fair. I would agree with that. Wild forward Joel Arisenek is week to week due to a lower body injury. Penguins game that happened, was pretty gruesome. So that's going to suck for the Wild. And then Ryan O'Reilly.
That's a big loss.
Yeah, that is a big loss.
Yeah, that's bigger than a lot of people probably realize. That's not good.
That's one of your like 3 best players out of your forwards.
Terry, our buddy Terry, was very vocal about that on Twitter. Was also not very nice to Penguins fans that night. So, yeah. Ryan O'Reilly, he returned to the Maple Leafs lineup. He returned in action against the Bruins last Thursday when they blew the game and lost 2-1 in overtime. So, foreshadowing? I don't know. We'll see.
Could be.
I will just say this: a Bruins Leafs second round. Feed me that. That would
Yeah.
be everything I need.
I was
on a
thinking that earlier
platter.
today, actually. If they got through round one, that'd be so sick if they got the bees in the second round.
When was their last one? Was it
18? No.
17, maybe?
One of those two. I
Their
feel like.
last what?
Their playoff series?
Oh, the last time they played each other. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that sounds right.
Okay.
I know it happened in 16, I think, but I think it happened another time after that.
16 was the one where, which was the one where they were up like 4-1.
I'm pretty sure that was 16.
And then like
James
blew it.
Reimer.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that no, that was 17, I think, because Matthews, his rookie year, played you guys. And Matthews was drafted in
Right.
16. So that maybe that was 2018. I can't
The
remember.
Caps played the Leafs in 16.
Was
15.
Matthews on that team though?
Or maybe it would have been 17 then.
Was Matthews on the
Or
team?
wait, no,
or was
you're
that
right.
The
You're
Kessel
right.
era?
It's
I
not
can't even
15.
remember
Yeah,
now.
I was in college for sure.
I
Fuck,
don't
I don't know.
remember.
We're all
Yeah.
just saying anything now.
My
So
brain-
It's within the same blanket of 3 years.
My brain's blending right now. Someone's punching the steering wheel. I guarantee you that. And then last rumor here, Jonathan Taves, he's treating his final 2 games as his last with the Blackhawks. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. Probably his last 2 games as a Blackhawk. So, tough for Johnny here.
probably his last 2 games in the NHL?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's supposed to be a free agent, but I don't know.
Can't see anyone taking a chance on him with what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some long-term health issues there. So we're obviously thinking about Johnny and hoping the best for him. Quick State of the Union for me, and probably even quicker for you guys because you're out of the playoffs. The Penguins, last week of the regular season, 1 point out. They have to win their last 2 games against the Blackhawks and the Blue Jackets. Doesn't sound like a hard thing to do, but I promise you it will not be as easy as it sounds. And can we get a score update for the Islanders Caps game?
It
Still
is
3-0 Caps.
Yep, with about 5 to go in the second.
Okay, so assuming that score holds still and the Penguins win their last 2 games, they will make the playoffs and play the Boston Bruins most likely in the first round.
Wow.
Do we have a score update for Leafs Panthers?
Hold, please.
Because the Panthers game will also affect that.
The score update is 1-0 Leafs. 1 minute left in the second.
So now it gets really interesting because if the Panthers also lose and that score holds still and the Penguins win their last 2 games, they would jump both of them and play Carolina in the first round, which I would still say we'd get mopped, but I would
Preferable.
I would definitely prefer that.
If I'm in your shoes, I'm taking Carolina without Svech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm not sold. There's still something that makes me think that team is going to have trouble.
They're just a silly little hockey team,
Yeah.
If they had Svech, I'd be shitting myself. I still am. That we're not going to beat them. They would beat us, but they've beat us every game this year. So why should we beat them? So, and then in a really twisted world, last thing I'll say, Panthers lose right now as we're recording. Caps keep winning as we're recording. Devils hop the Canes, which is completely possible. And then we get Jersey in the first round and we'd probably get fucking destroyed, but they're the rookie team and we're the experienced team and we could turn it on and maybe win a round. And I'm talking myself into a whole lot of joy and I'm just going to get heartbroken. So I don't know why I'm doing it.
I think you just got to let her go, bud.
I can't, Nick. I can't. I can't let it go. It's not in my DNA.
Yeah.
No
Go
offense.
home, sweetheart.
If I was in your guys' shoes, I could let it go. Not trying to be an asshole, but
Yeah.
It's like I just said it to Ken in the interview. We're literally so close. It's like just sign me up. Let's break our hearts together.
You just want one more, right? One more.
I just want one more.
Yeah.
Like let's just do it one last time for memory's sake,
Fair
So
enough.
Penn State of the Union. That's
Yeah.
my
right.
spiel.
That was State of the Union. Let's do State of the Onion. Capitals forward TJ Oshie is done for the season. They shut him down due to injuries. I think this is absolutely the right call given the situation they're in and also the situation that this player has been in for the last 3 to 5 seasons.
Probably should have been done like 5 games ago, but yeah, whatever.
Or 5 games into the year, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I just feel so bad for this guy with, how many injuries he's had to battle. He's absolutely coming back when he's like 60% ready because of the guy he is. is, but
he tries so hard too. You got to hand it to him, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little concerning.
that's why we love him, though. The Caps have also officially clinched a bottom 11 spot in the regular season standings, which means they're now eligible for the first overall pick in the draft lottery. So this is a problem because much like how Harry was talking himself into the Penguins making the playoffs, now I'm talking myself into the Caps actually getting Connor Beardard.
Wait, what
Tanka-
happens if that happens?
I told you
Like-
I'm getting the tattoo.
And
Yeah,
I'm
but
getting a
there's
bearded
some
dragon.
right. Okay, I just
Yeah.
wanted to remind people of more so Mac's bet in case you
Yeah.
didn't listen to last episode or 2 episodes ago. You
I
wanna
think
remind
Mac
them?
would have a lot of fun with a bearded dragon.
Oh, I'm sure I would. I was actually watching a video of one the other day, just eating like a worm out of its owner's hand. I was like, I could do that. That's
That would
fun.
be cool.
I'm doing the same thing as you, Nick, though. I literally like had a dream the other day that we got him, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course we got him.
Ugh.
Of course we got him.
So Tankathon, love that name, estimates their chance at around 6%. For those that don't know,
that's
it's
like pretty good.
it's not
honestly.
bad. The team that finishes last is typically around like 25% to get the first overall
Yeah.
pick. So
Yeah, I'll take 6% at like fully transforming our franchise for the next however many years.
literally,
20.
yeah.
Yeah, Jesus, that'd be
Or like you said, like Fantilli, what's the percentage on the number 2 pick then?
yeah, you can't go
Sure.
wrong with either
Yeah.
of those guys, I feel like.
Yeah.
All right. Last report, do you even want to read it? Is it real? I think it's fake news.
I do want to read it. It was from Dan Rosen, but the report is that the Capitals could move Evgeny Kuznetsov, Anthony Mantha, or Tom Wilson this summer. Do we have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, my thought, unless there's some shit I don't know, I really, really don't think that the Caps are trading Tom Wilson in a bajillion years. I don't care what the return looks like. I think that would be insanely silly, and I don't think it's even on. I don't think BMAC is probably even listening to questions about that. If,
I'm sure
if I had to
people
guess,
have
but
called to ask. I just don't see a world where they could find a deal that would make it worthwhile for the Caps to get rid of this player.
yeah, no. The other two, sure, I'll hear any offer you got, but
It's like if you're gonna throw me like a top 5 draft pick, like that's already been selected, and then like 3 first rounders, it would be hard for a team to say no to that. But I just don't really see a situation where you as a franchise could give up a player like this.
No. You guys would be morons to give up Tommy. I mean, short of literally like 3 first-round picks, I would not give up Tom Wilson.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right, let's move on to the trivia portion of the episode, and then we'll be done here. I do want to give a shout out to my old man. My dad actually told me he got the trivia question right within 5 seconds last episode, which made me feel like
Wow.
a piece of shit.
Which took us like 7 minutes.
We said we were like somebody's sitting here right now just screaming the name, like, "Look, come on, I know."
I was home for Easter. My dad's like, "How'd you not get Line A?" And I was like, he didn't even greet me. I was like, "What?" And I
That was
like,
the
"All
first
right."
thing he said to you. Like
Yeah,
you walk
he's
in the door, he's like, "Get out of my house."
Yeah, he's like, "How did you not get Line A?" I'm like, I guess I don't know. I don't know. I'm an idiot. So
well,
Mac,
because they
what do you
traded
got?
him to Columbus. So
Oh, I also forgot Winnipeg existed. So
yeah, that too.
All right, so for this week's trivia question, I have yet another. This is just so far, and this is only the third one, but this is just becoming our today in history or in hockey history segment because that's just what I've been finding, and I really like those. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll switch them up at some point, but we're back to that for a third week. All right, who am I? I made league history on April 10th, 2003. When I made 63 saves to lead my team over the defending Stanley Cup champion Red Wings in a 2-1 double overtime victory. I made the most saves by a goaltender making my postseason debut. So the most saves by any goalie making his postseason debut.
Jean-Sebastien Giguère.
Ding, ding, ding. That might have
Western
been too easy.
Conference. Yeah,
Too
that would
easy.
make sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Anaheim
Well,
Ducks, right?
Yes, sir.
we needed an easy one after last week. That
Yeah,
was pretty brutal.
That's fair. We had to redeem yourself. So
That
all right.
was such a fun playoff run. That's like one of the first cup finals I remember watching as a kid.
Damn.
That is an
Yeah.
excellent one.
Haven't heard his name in a while.
Yeah, J.S. Giguère.
Get jiggy with it.
Oh, do you just type in this day in hockey history on Google?
No, I have a site
Oh,
that like
okay. Because I literally just typed that in.
is that the first thing that popped up or
It is one of the things that popped up, but it's
Okay.
not the first. It just
there's a
it
site that I
autofills.
use that has like it goes in chronological order. Like it literally has something from like 1981 and then it goes all the way down to like the most recent thing that happened on this day in history.
Oh wow.
You can just pick whichever one you like the best.
Oh, that is
Nice.
actually pretty cool. I'm reading a couple now. Yeah, I like this segment. It's becoming one of my favorite quickly. All right. Well, we will wrap it up here. Thank you for listening. Thanks to Ken for joining us. Last episode of the regular season, so we appreciate you guys sticking it out with us. But now comes the fun part. We'll be ramping up to 2 episodes per week starting next week. Round 1 of the NHL playoffs will be upon us. We will have our predictions, series picks, all of that coming at you next week. So make sure you're tuning in. That's usually the biggest episode of the year. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll catch you guys then. Take it easy. And without further ado,
Class dismissed.